They handed me a plate with nothing but cold potatoes and sent me to eat in the laundry room while the family feasted by the fire. The sound of their laughter carried through the walls, and every cheer dug deeper. My fork scraped the plate. The room smelled of detergent, not dinner. So I slipped outside, hoping for space, just for air. That's when I saw it. A faint cloud of white steam drifting from the old wooden shed. I walked closer. The hinges groaned as I pulled the door open, and that's when I saw her. My grandmother, wrapped in a thin blanket, shivering so hard her teeth chattered. What kind of family locks away their own mother on Thanksgiving? Let me tell you what happened. My name is Julia and I'm 28 years old. I work as a preschool teacher. Most days I'm surrounded by crayons, sticky fingers, and children shouting my name for help. I don't earn much. My clothes are simple. I live in a small apartment downtown. But I care deeply for people, and that's never been something money can buy. My father remarried years after my mom passed. My stepmother came from a wealthier family. Their world was polished silver forks, glass chandeliers, and expensive wine. My world, the one my mom raised me in, was laughter on the porch with sandwiches wrapped in paper napkins. Every holiday I felt the sting of difference, but this Thanksgiving the divide became cruel. Has your family ever treated you like an outsider? Share your story in the comments and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. The day started with polished chaos. The house smelled of roasted turkey, butter sizzling, cinnamon drifting through the hallways. But none of it felt warm to me. Not when I walked into the dining room and saw every seat full except mine. Julia, my stepmom's voice cut clear. There's no space for you at the table. We've set up a seat in the laundry room. You'll be fine there. Don't make this harder. Her lips curled like this was reasonable. My cousin smirked, holding his glass of wine. Guess this year Julia's not important enough for the main table. The family laughed. My father said nothing. I sat in the laundry room, staring at lukewarm potatoes squished on a plate meant to humiliate. I pretended to chew but couldn't swallow. Their laughter echoed through the house, slicing me open. I pushed back the chair. I needed space. My feet carried me outside into the biting cold. The brittle leaves crunched under my shoes, and then I saw the faint steam near the shed. I opened the door. Inside she was Grandma, my mother's mother. Grandma, my voice cracked. She whispered through trembling lips, "Julia, it's cold." My throat burned. She shouldn't have been here. She should have been inside, eating beside me. The shock nearly made me collapse. My stepmom had told me Grandma was not well and resting upstairs. That was a lie. Grandma was exiled. I threw my coat over her shoulders, rubbing her frozen arms. "What are you doing out here? Why didn't anyone check on you?" She shook her head weakly. "They said I make things take too long. They said I belong here." My eyes blurred. Cliffhanger. Would I confront them, or would I play along? I helped her inside, leading her toward the warmth by the kitchen. But the moment we crossed the doorframe, insults came. "That smell," one of my stepmom's sisters gagged. "She smells like old blankets. She doesn't belong in here." Another voice chimed, "Why drag her in? She was fine outside." I clenched my jaw. "She's freezing." She almost collapsed. "You left her in the shed." Stepmom tilted her head. "She prefers it quiet. Don't dramatize." Grandma dropped her gaze to the ground. My heart nearly shattered. The woman who raised me when my mom died. The woman who made me pancakes when I cried myself hoarse as a teenager. The family she built had hidden her away like trash. And in that moment an old truth dug claws into me. They hated her because she reminded them of my mother and me. Later that night, while walking down the hallway, I heard laughter coming from behind the parlor door. My stepmom's children sat sprawled on velvet couches, whispering in cruel tones. "Julia's just like her grandma," one sneered. "Weak, always dependent, always asking for scraps." The others chuckled. My fists tightened. Weak? I thought about the 3 jobs I worked through college. I thought about the way I balanced bills, though no one ever asked how I managed to survive. But instead of shouting, I bit my tongue and carried more food to Grandma quietly. We sat together in the corner with plates I had filled myself. Pumpkin pie, tender rolls, warm soup I smuggled from the kitchen. Her hands shook less as she ate. I watched her smile at me through silver hair falling in strands. "You're just like your mom," she whispered. "Kind when no one else cares." I wanted to protect her more than ever. What my family didn't know was this. Since Mom passed, I'd been managing Grandma's healthcare. I paid her bills. I handled her paperwork. I was her legal proxy. They thought she was powerless, they thought they could decide to lock her outside. But they didn't know. They thought I was just the quiet girl in the corner, I muttered inside. But what they didn't know was, Grandma's life wasn't in their control anymore, it was in mine. I had kept every medical paper, every report, every signed proxy from the doctor. I knew exactly what rights my stepmom did not have. And tonight, I wasn't planning to stay quiet any longer. Still, I needed someone else, someone beyond me. So I slipped away and called Mrs. Harris, the neighbor, a kind woman with sharp eyes who lived across the street. She answered, hushed. Julia, is everything all right? No, I said. You've seen her outside before, haven't you, my grandma? Silence. Then, yes. I didn't want to interfere, but I saw her shivering on the porch last week. More than once. Her voice hardened. If you need me, I'll speak up. When I returned to the dining room, laughter roared as the fire cracked. My stepmom raised her glass, smiling. I've managed this house perfectly, even old problems are kept out of sight. Her eyes flicked at me when she said it. My father, sitting at the head of the table, sipped his drink nervously. I wanted to scream, but instead I smiled faintly, saving my breath for when it counted. Later, as the plates cleared and the laughter swelled again, I stood. Where do you think Grandma should be spending Thanksgiving? My voice cut through the noise. Out in the freezing shed, or here with her family. Forks paused mid-air. The fire snapped. Everyone stared. My stepmom laughed once, sharp. Julia, stop exaggerating, she wanted fresh air. Fresh air at 30 degrees? I snapped back. With a blanket thinner than my shirt? You don't understand, she sneered. I reached into my bag, pulled out folded hospital documents, set them on the table. These, I said, my voice steady, are medical notes signed by her doctor. They state clearly her health has worsened from repeated cold exposure. The room froze. She was sent out there often, I continued, and here's proof. Records, signed every month. And attached to this is the guardianship paperwork. I hold her healthcare proxy, not you. My stepmom's face drained of color. Mrs. Harris's voice came from the doorway. She had stepped inside bravely, and I can confirm, she said, trembling but loud. I've seen her locked outside many times. It wasn't her choice. Gasps circled the table. One cousin muttered, "You're serious?" Stepmom's smile cracked. My father's glass shook in his hand. He whispered, "Julia," but his voice carried shame. "If I have to," I said, heart pounding, "I'll move her out tonight. She isn't your burden. She's my grandmother, and she deserves love, not exile." Silence spread thick. The kind of silence that chokes. No one laughed, no one smirked. For once their insults had backfired. I helped Grandma up gently, her fragile hand curling around mine. As we walked toward the door, the fire popped behind us. But no one dared say another word. That night, I laid out a bowl of warm stew in my little kitchen. Grandma smiled weakly, holding the spoon close. They thought pushing us aside would silence us, I whispered, but for once their silence didn't hurt me, it freed me. She reached across the table, holding my hand. Her blue eyes sparkled faintly under the light. "Your mother would be proud," she said, her lips trembling but her smile full. Tears blurred my eyes, but this time it wasn't sadness, it was release. For the first time in years I felt peace. I didn't need their approval anymore. I had chosen love, and love was enough. Have you ever had to step in when your family mistreated someone you loved? Share your story below, I read every one, and make sure you subscribe, because no one should have their voice silenced in their own family. Look at your screen, 2 new videos are waiting. Click quickly because you won't want to miss either of these powerful stories.